What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Let me say that one more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me. Yeah, me at your next event. I like to party with the people. Let me entertain you. Yeah, I probably shouldn't sing, even though I do a lot of karaoke shows, video dance parties, karaoke jams, weddings, corporate events. You know, that's my thing. That's my jam. Speaking of, also my jam is eating. And I found today on the program, I found this girl on the Twitter, and her Twitter, it's delicious. I tell you, she is known as the Donut Girl, at Carol Copey. And who is that? Well, you're going to find out in the next few minutes. Stick around. This week's shows. Let's see. I have one public show this week on the 3rd of July. It's the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. It's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. I do that almost every Friday in the year. Yeah, I think there's maybe one or two Fridays that I don't go to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. I can count them on less than one hand how many times I'm not there. So that's my usual Friday night gig. I know we're back, baby. Quarantined. Well, okay, we're breaking out with some precautions. So I'm cleaning the microphones off quite a bit. After every singer, I am giving them a good wipe down. So for those that are worried about the spread of the coronavirus, the COVID-19, I'm taking every precaution that I can. And hey, I encourage you, if you're feeling bad, if you're feeling sick, don't come. Sit this one out. If you're immune deficient, sit this one out. But for the rest of us, if you're feeling strong, you're feeling healthy, you've been working hard all week, what better way to spend your time than with your friends at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas? Full bar, kitchen's open. They got a pool tournament every Friday night. I'm good. It's good to see the pool players are back. I mean, they had me back for about 3 weeks, and then the pool tournament, they said, you know what, we're going to come back too. So they've been back for a couple of weeks, and that's been going really well. So it's starting to seem like old times, with the caveats where we're taking a few precautions and making sure that everybody stays safe. There's plenty of sanitizer everywhere. Okay, so wash your hands, people. You should have been doing that anyway. The germaphobes, they had it right all along. See? And I don't think I've shaken hands in a long time. I'm a fist bumper. Fist bump. And how you doing? I'm great. Jazz hands. All right. I think I've talked your ear enough. Come out to the Rab, 3rd of July, Friday night. Saturdays, the 4th of July. I don't have anything booked, so I suspect I'm going to be watching a lot of things blowed up. I'm here in the South, in Conway, Arkansas, and the ordinance says you're not supposed to blow things up in the city. I have already heard people blowing things up in the city, so there goes that out the window. The rebels. Woo. All right, party people. Let's get into it with the Donut Girl, Carol Copey. Skyping Carol Copey. Well, let me let you know. If you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on the Keys Dan YouTube. All right. Skyping Carol Copey now.
Almost there. How's that?
Oh, gorgeous. Let's see. Hold on a second.
I mean, this is just for you and I, right? Because.
Oh, yeah. Sure. We're not going worldwide to millions and millions of people.
It's just audio. I know. How many listeners do you have?
Oh, no. We're going video as well. I'm putting this up on YouTube.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No. This is, I have you in my little broadcast, my broadcast software. So it kind of looks like either CNN or Fox News. And there you are, right in the middle. Let's get you centered up. Get you.
So how do I look?
Oh, you look fantastic. All right. The Donut Girl, Carol Copey. I have no idea about you. That's about it. That's about all I know. You're so elusive. I have no idea who you are. And I kind of think you like it that way. but I'm craving donuts. Give the people a little idea of who you are.
So, do you want me to give background as how I became the donut girl?
Absolutely. This is your story. I want you to tell it any way you want. We could start from when you were conceived, your family life, if you want, or we can go wherever. How did you become the donut girl?
Okay, so I joined Twitter initially to talk about politics
To talk about what?
and politics.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had a Christian Lives Matters ribbon over my face so I couldn't be identified. And I would spout off about politics. And every single morning, when I woke up, I'd grab my phone and I'd scroll. And it became so negative and so disheartening that I just really didn't want to start my day that way. And so I took the ribbon off and I decided I was going to start following fun accounts. And I did. And I ran across this guy who every morning would post a cup of coffee with a funny little saying on the cup, usually with the F word, but funny.
Yeah, F
And
word is funny, right?
yeah, yeah. And the cups were very clever and appropriate for the day of the week. And so every morning I'd say hi to him, and his Avi was a little line art drawing of Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, and his handle was Heisenberg, and his at was Mojo Rising, and so I called him Mo. And so Mo and I became pretty good friends, and before we became friends, I was scrolling around and I made a sarcastic comment to somebody, and the guy sniped back at me, and Mo jumped in. Mo had kind of been following me. Anyways, we developed a really, really close friendship. And for as long as I can remember, whenever the alarm would go off, I would think, oh my gosh, it's time to make the donuts, meaning I need to get up. I have responsibilities. It's time to make the donuts. And so Mo was doing coffee. I said, here, I'll bring donuts. And so we just kind of started doing, that. And I was posting pictures, really just memes of donuts and funny things associated with donuts, and really didn't have that much of a following. I probably had 800 followers at that time. And then Mo started retweeting me, and he retweeted me 3 times or so. And I picked up a lot of his followers. And unfortunately, Mo passed away at the end of January, and his family saw that I was in his DMs because we used to talk all the time. We were very close friends. And so I was posting things about his memorial service, and a lot of his friends just started following me. And I started posting better photos of donuts, and now I've got 6,500 followers, and I engage with probably 150, 200 people a day, and people tell me that they just can't start their day without the donuts, and oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've seen on Twitter all day. And I typically get around 1,200 likes, which is, a pretty good return on 6,000 followers. But a lot of people ask if I bake donuts,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't. Good baker, and I'm a good cook, but I don't own a donut shop. I don't bake donuts. I'm a realtor by trade.
Well, fantastic. We could definitely talk about your real estate, but you make my mouth water every time I get on the Twitter and I see the donuts go by. And I think your donuts, your virtual donuts, are probably better for my health. I'm kind of a big boy. I have a few lbs that are on my body that shouldn't be there. But your virtual donuts are probably better for me. But continuing on, and you don't even make donuts at all, but you are a baker.
Yes, but everything in moderation. People look at those photos and they're like, "Oh, I just gained 25 pounds." I'm like, "No, you didn't. There's 0 calories." There was a girl tonight, as a matter of fact, that was talking about the fat and the salt and et cetera, et cetera. It's a photo, it's a photo. It's harmless. But I really appreciate that people tell me, that I bring a smile to their face or that they can't start their day without the donuts. And, I mean, there's enough strife in this world right now and enough division. Let's all have a little fun. Let's have some joy and, let's be positive.
I get it. I get it. I like the positivity. But even in that positivity, you still had a negative comment, that, oh, there's too much fat and sugar in it. This is a virtual donut. It's a picture of a donut. And Twitter, I know it can be very toxic. And you were you were into politics beforehand. I mean, was that something that you've already always been involved in? Did you do debate in school? Were you involved in that in the high school days?
No, not really debate. Have always been interested in politics. I never went that route in my career or anything. I do want to get a law degree at some point. I'm overeducated. Some people would say I got 2 advanced degrees, an MBA and a master's in mass comm. And I do want a law degree, so that's on my bucket list. But I do follow politics closely because I do care about where this country's going and everything. But it just became so toxic that it wasn't healthy to start off the morning that way, with all the negativity. And I just decided I was going to I'm a very positive person anyway, and a very happy person. And I just decided I was going to go a different route and kind of fell into the donuts. And, it's fun, it's laborious, but it's a lot of fun. I've made so many good friends. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And I'm just fortunate that my job allows me to engage my phone all day working. And so I flip over to Twitter and, follow up on comments and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's good to have something like that to brighten your day. But I mean, you say what was it that struck me? Oh, you said you were overeducated. I don't think anyone can be overeducated. Keep learning, always learning. The reason I started this podcast was to pick people's brains, and right now I'm picking the brain of the donut girl, Carol Copy, and I couldn't find you anywhere else on social media. I looked up the Carol Copy names and I couldn't find your picture out there. You're so elusive. You're out. I know you're out there somewhere. I mean, do you have the Facebook? Do you have the Instagram? Or is Twitter the main source, the main place to be?
No, I have them all. Kopi is not my last name. It's a shortened version. It's kind of alias, but I am on Facebook for work and pleasure. I rarely go there though. I'm more on Instagram, and I just joined Parler recently.
What's Parlor? Educate this old man. What's Parlor?
Well, it's a similar platform to Twitter. I don't know a whole lot about it yet. I think there's more of a conservative bent. But somebody on Twitter just invited me the other day, so I joined and have a few followers. But I don't think I can manage 2 full-time platforms. Twitter is pretty consuming. So that's where I'm going to stay until something happens.
Oh yeah, for me, I'm the big four: the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Those are the four that I can handle. Anything more than that would be just too much. But I just started. I used Twitch now to post videos, and I've started gaming at 51 years old. I miss playing Atari 2600. Way back in the 80s when I was a kid in school, class of 86 rules. And I spent whole Saturdays doing that. And now I'm getting back into gaming. It's making me smile. It's making me nostalgic. The other day, I played Galaga online, and people seem to respond to that.
Oh,
I figured if I'm going to play, hey, might as well throw it out there. I got this broadcast software. And hopefully it brightens somebody's day, but it brightened my day. And these are things that you have to do to give you joy. And one of the things that you do is posting on Twitter, posting pictures of donuts, primarily donuts. I've seen some other things that the video of the social distancing block party, was that the one of
yeah.
the pin one that you have there? It made me smile as well. I mean, but we can go through. Where are you from? Do you want to disclose where are you located at right now, or no?
Probably not so much. Detroit, Michigan, originally.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm a Yankee, but
okay.
I'm in the South now. But I'd rather not disclose my exact location.
Oh, I was going to try to help you out with your real estate as well. If you wanted to sell somebody a house, I'm in the market for a house. I'm in Conway, Arkansas right now, but and I have a realtor that's looking some things up for me, and I do appreciate the job of a realtor because it seems like my realtor, Janice Alexander, and she's been on this podcast before, and I went to her office and I talked to her in her office about real estate primarily, but she has other interests as well. But if I text her at 10 o'clock, she will text me back at 10:01. It's amazing, and that job. Do you set hours in that job, or do you just stay up all hours of the night? You said you were on your phone all the time, but in the real estate
Well,
biz,
you saw how responsive I was to you, right?
right
Like when
away.
you texted months ago. I'm a corporate dropout. I dropped out of corporate 4 years ago, and I ran sales teams across the Eastern Seaboard in media and advertising. And so I'm used to having my phone on me, putting out fires, having to respond to questions and that kind of thing. So I always have my phone, and I'm just always flipping around on it. Now, if I'm with somebody one on one or something, or having dinner, I'll put it down. But as far as hours go, I sit in bed at 10 o'clock at night and text. There are some times when I just have to back away. But that's not to say that I'm out of pocket. The real estate market is extremely hot right now. I mean, every day I'm getting a contract or two. We're short on inventory, so it's definitely a seller's market. I don't know if you guys are finding that out in Arkansas, but here in the southeast, it's smoking hot.
See, you're talking like a real estate. It's a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. I'm not even sure what those things mean. Okay, so me being in the market to buy a house, how so is it a buyer's market? Are the interest rates
It,
low? Is what's happening?
it's a seller's market
Oh, a
because
seller's
there's
market.
not inventory. So sellers are getting multiple offers on their properties. They're not staying on the market long. I got one under contract in about 3 days, and the people bought it 2 years ago, and they made about $75,000 on it.
Wow.
Tried to get higher than they actually did, but they just couldn't believe that they could get as much as I tried to tell them they could get, and they got a full price offer in about 2 days. Got another one under contract in about just moving really, really quickly.
Yeah, I'm finding that the real estate market. I know my wife, she is looking at listings all the time, and Janice will send her a listing, and she'll say, "We got to move on this if you want it." And so she'll go off and she'll look at it. I've already told her, leave me out of it. Whatever you want, that's what we're going to get. Because there was one that we almost bought just down the street, only about 3 or 4 blocks away from where I'm living right now, and for me, I can live anywhere. And for me, I said, yeah, go ahead, let's buy it. Then we find out that there's mold and there's rats, after the inspection, and so we had to turn that one down. And from then on, I just said, look, wherever you want, that's what I'll go. I can live anywhere as long as she's with me, it's
Martin.
fine. Yeah, yeah. And but she's having, we're having a time. We want to stay here in Conway, Arkansas, because there's a thing called Conway Core where they bundle all the electricity and the phone and the cable all together, and it's real cheap on the electricity, on the utilities. It's real cheap in this area, and there's places just outside that are well in our price range, and but they're just outside of that zone. Nobody wants to give up houses. You're right about the no inventory thing. Nobody wants to give up houses in the area that we want to be in. And you're in the Southeast. I'm from Miami, Florida, so I know the Southeast pretty well. I was born and raised there. The Keys, Dan, Florida Keys is where I'm from.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it. Hey, now you're getting it. But you say that you were in the corporate world. You were working for somebody else. How many years did you do that? And what kind of work exactly was it? You don't have to say who it was if you don't want to.
Yeah, it was 20 or so, and I worked in the newspaper business and then websites, startups, and worked with a couple an automotive broadcasting company that had some Disney and Apple employees that made commercials. And that was pretty interesting. That guy came up with this idea to make his own commercials that would play on TVs in the service waiting room. So his customers never saw competitors' ads, and the commercials were really good. I mean, high quality, and the content on TVs was CBS. So the people waiting for their cars never knew that it wasn't real TV necessarily. So I did a myriad of things.
Well,
I'm a car girl.
let me stop you. How were you involved with that? Were you helping with production or the ad work?
No, I ran the sales team. I ran the eastern side of the country sales.
Wow.
So I was flying around every single week, and I kept a suitcase on my bedroom floor with the essentials and would just trade out stuff because I was traveling so much. But I also worked at a wedding website, which was pretty interesting, and it was two ex-CNN producers, if that's a clue.
Wink, wink. Oh, no. It might be a clue. I've been involved with some of those websites as a DJ. I really didn't get put onto any of those. Mostly it's word of mouth, and then I built this website with 500,000 pages on it. So if you Google, I get Googled a lot. I like to be Googled, and so I'm glad I'm getting a lot of hits. But I built this website, and I really haven't had to be on some of those sites, but I've heard about them, like the Knot and and the Party Pop and all those other websites. I've heard people get good results from being on there. But you were involved in something like that?
It was called Get Married. We had a TV show, and with Colin Cowie, who's a lifestyle guru. So he was on the show, and then we launched a magazine. And so that was a lot of fun. And I ran the sales division for that. But I was going to tell you, coming from Detroit, and my father was with Ford Motor, I kind of grew up in the car industry. And so I was at autotrader.com in Atlanta, and they brought me on board when they went to 100% digital. And I started a performance and exotics division. And so that was a lot of fun. Got to deal with all those exotic cars and go down to Lauderdale and talk to those car dealers and everything.
Yeah, I remember those. I graduated in Fort Lauderdale in Davie, Florida, at Western High School. Like I said, class of '86 rules. But yes, I graduated there, and I remember those cars. If you go down the strip, the 17th Street Causeway down in Miami, there's all these exotic car companies. Which ones were you involved in? Do you remember, or did you get to drive around in some of those cars?
Dealerships were on every single corner. Like old gas stations, would be turned into an exotic car dealership. No, I guess the most memorable thing is I saw Flo Rida's Bugatti, and it was
I like me some Flo Rida.
Flo Rida. it was it was wrapped in a pearl white coating because of a video that he had done. But I learned at that time that it takes two keys or two starters for that car, and each time you drive it, it has to be tuned up to about the tune of $120,000.
It's
So it's
crazy.
not a cheap ride.
Well, that's the thing about, sometimes that I get, well, what is it? New money? Sometimes new money, people just spend that stuff and like it's like they're gonna have it forever. And but
Yeah.
you gotta save some of that. You gotta put some of that away for a rainy day because I guess fame is fleeting. and, yeah, hey, all the best to Flo Rida. I like that guy. I got to well, I don't remember. I was working on the radio down in Miami, but I don't remember if I've ever really met up with him, but I think I've seen him on a red carpet here and there when I was on the radio, Exito 105.5, and which is no longer
Oh, yeah.
it's no longer there anymore. Oh well, but the website's
Well,
still
that's
up.
showbiz,
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like the news, you know.
right, right. And I guess we've chewed a lot of the same dirt. You've done ad business and radio business and television, and I've done ads all over this country and probably around the world because I was doing some, well, donuts is also a name of the kind of commercials that they'll send you. They'll send you these little songs like, we'll be there for you, kind of like the Friends theme, and then they'll give you like these little spaces, which is called a donut. That's where you put the ad for the car commercial. At Jimmy's Chevrolet, we'll be there for you. We'll be there for you. And you were involved in some of that. I guess you were putting those ads together or sending them out or promoting them somewhat. Tell me
Oh
more.
yeah. Oh yeah. I did ads in the newspaper business for years. Yeah. Worked with car dealers and real estate and everybody in between.
That's pretty cool. Hey, see, you've spent some
Yeah.
time doing things. You're not a stagnant person, and I'm guessing you weren't with the same company for all those 22 years. You were doing different. You had your hands in different pots, or were you doing contract work, or were you working with one company?
No, I worked all over, really all over the country essentially. I mean, I was in Wichita, Kansas, I was in Columbia, South Carolina, Jacksonville, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia. So yeah, I did it in a lot of places.
Well, being on
Kind of
plane.
stumbled in
I'm sorry. Say
Kansas.
it again.
I kind of stumbled into it in Kansas. I was working on a degree and went across campus to interview to get some practice and wound up getting a job.
Wow, you're not in
So
Kansas
that was
anymore. Yeah. So,
no.
what degree were you working on in Kansas?
I was finishing up my undergraduate and then went on and got that master's in mass comm.
What's mass? Oh, mass communications.
Uh huh.
Oh, I'm very interested in that. That's fantastic. And did you get on the air at all? Did you do any commercials or broadcasting of any kind, or was it always behind the scenes?
No, it was the newspaper business. Now, in school, I did some broadcasting. I interviewed Sarah Brady. You
Okay.
remember her, Jim Brady, when they were doing the gun control?
Is that the Brady Law? The Brady
Yeah, the
Bill?
Brady Bill. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep, yep,
okay.
yep.
But
So I interviewed her,
well, tell
but
me
that
more
was
about that. I'm not. I'm familiar with the name of the bill, but I don't know who that is. Tell me more about Sarah Brady.
so Jim Brady. I believe he was one of the guys that got shot when they tried to assassinate Reagan,
Okay.
and yeah, and then his wife Sarah came. Um, she became an advocate against guns and for gun control. And
Okay.
so that was I just interviewed her for a class project. Essentially, that was kind of the extent of my radio.
Well, that's a
I
pretty
was I
cool.
was mostly
That's a pretty cool
print.
class project to interview Sarah Brady. Did that interview get put out anywhere in print or in any kind of media at all?
No, not really.
Wow,
just
just kind of a
just on a
throwaway
tape.
interview. Okay, I mean, but good for a grade, I guess. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. No, no. I figure well, I guess these days everything would have been put out there. It would have been videoed, it would have been audioed, and it would have been put out there. Somewhat like this podcast, where I'm going to put everything out there all over the world. Hopefully, you get some more followers. I mean, if you look at the video, if you're listening to the audio portion, and I'm talking to the listeners, I encourage you to head out to the Keys Dan YouTube, and you'll see donut girl, Carol Copey. Her name is underneath her little video there, and you can see her face and her smiley face, and her room. You can see a little bit of her interior. She's inviting us into her room, and we're learning
My
more.
boss.
Oh, all right, all right. She got her office there. Oh, we got some stuff on the wall. Is that some of your degrees up there?
Degrees and awards. Uh,
She's an award-winning person. Well, tell me more. I mean, you got the mass communications. You've been all over the place. I mean, just that flying every week had to be hard on a body. I mean, did you have time to start a family? Anywhere in there?
oh, I have a family. I have 3 children.
Oh, fantastic! Mazel tov. That's
They're all
beautiful.
set. You'll notice on my Twitter feed, my daughter was on the Today Show
What?
with her husband and her baby. They were live in New York for her baby's first birthday. And Savannah Guthrie grabbed her and carried her all around, and she was all over their social media all day. She was quite the celebrity. And then most recently for her second birthday, they featured them, via Skype. And so Savannah told my daughter Lauren to bring Caroline back next year in person. So Lauren has maintained a friendship with a producer that she met while she was in New York at the Today Show. And so, he helped her get on again. And I guess he'll help them get on next year as well. So
Donut
that was
girl,
pretty.
it's running in the family. She just might be falling into the another career. I mean, here you were, trying to get it. Well, I'm guessing an internship somewhere, and you fell into a career. Is that how it worked for you?
Well, I was just going to practice interviewing and they hired me essentially. And of course, that's what I studied for and everything. So, it was a welcomed experience. But I was going to say, you mentioned that, this will be put out everywhere. And, back then when I did that Brady interview, we didn't have social media or anything. And I remember when I was in the newspaper biz and we'd come in from the field and we'd have memos in our chair, and then one time we were out in the field and they had put computers on our desks and we were all mad because we couldn't lay out our newspapers and look bad, they were in the way. But because of that, I've always been really computer savvy and exposed my children to computers. And my youngest son, as a matter of fact, is a developer and he's got a very successful app that, I mean, it's a business.
Well,
It
put it
was
out there.
trending as
Give it to
number
me.
one um, on the App Store one day. Of course, he doesn't keep up with any of that, but I'm not going to say much more about that.
No, no, you
You know,
tell. You tell. We'll make it number one again if we can. Be a proud mama.
no,
I want you to brag.
it's huge. It's huge, and yeah, I'm going to respect his privacy, but I say that to say that I expose them to computers, and he really and libraries. I'm a library nerd. I love libraries, and so I would take him to the library, and he'd always want to go to the technology section and learned how to code and all of this. So, but yeah, so all 3 of my kids are successful and um,
That's
doing well.
fantastic, proud mama. I was just talking about that the other day. I started on radio back in 1986, and one of the first things that I would do, first of all, it was college radio, and I was doing stuff in the afternoon. I would have classes during the day, and then in like 5 to 7, I was doing some things, and then 7 to 9, sometimes I was doing some things. But one of the things that I remember doing, and I enjoyed doing, was grabbing the newspaper on the way in and then having something to spout off on the air rather than trying to remember things that were going on in the day. The newspaper was the king, and still, and I just heard this recently. If you want to get the real news, the real skinny on what's going on, grab your local newspaper. Print, some people will say, is dead, but I don't think so. I think your local newspaper are some of the people, some of those reporters are the ones that are really getting in there locally, and they're the ones that break those stories that sometimes go national and even global. The Miami Herald was the one I used to pick up on the way in, and I know that's a pretty big paper, in the southeast. But I mean,
Yeah,
just yeah, yeah, but I would
I
pick that up. Go ahead.
I started with Knight Ridder and trained, as a matter of fact,
You started with what?
with Knight Ridder. They used to own the Miami Herald, and they were the largest newspaper chain. And I trained down in Miami.
That's so cool. See, you never come by and say
And
hello.
well, I'll tell you, it's newspapers are dead, in my opinion. I mean,
Oh,
the small community papers, are still doing a pretty good job, but newspapers didn't keep up with the times. And I remember having a conversation with our publisher, and I said, I'm the audience you're trying to reach. I'm a working woman, with kids, and I'm your best target audience because I buy everything in the ads. And I told him, I said, I have a TV in my bathroom. So when I get up in the morning, I watch TV. I'm watching the Today Show or whatever. So I hear the news there. I get in the car, I back down my driveway, I throw my newspaper in the back seat, right? I'm listening to the radio on my commute, so I'm getting my news there. By the time I get to the newspaper, it's old news. I've heard it everywhere else. I said, what you guys need to do is you need to publish an evening newspaper with a more complete analysis of the day's events, capitalizing on what we've already learned, but so we can dig deeper. Oh, we can't. With the metro traffic patterns, we'd never be able to deliver it. Dan, it wasn't 6 weeks later. There was this shopper that came out that was thrown in the driveway on Thursday afternoons for soccer moms to take to the games.
yeah.
So I don't know how, we could manage to get that free shopper out that littered everybody's yards and we couldn't get the newspaper. But I just think newspapers were so slow to react to the changing times, and it's sad because the money that we used to be able to make, I'd walk out when I was selling ads, I'd walk out of a car dealer's office with $50,000 worth of ads for the 2 weekend days.
Yeah.
You know, 25 to $50,000 depending. And you can't get that in digital. There's just no way. So that has really caused the demise of newspapers.
And from what I understand, in my grandfather's day, newspapers were the king, and they did have a morning paper and then the evening edition. It was
Yeah,
so the news you kept up with it. That was the way to keep up with the world. Is that newspaper, man? And it's just gone.
absolutely.
And I guess it's digital out there somewhere. And were you involved with that transition between paper to digital? You said you did the car was it that the car trader
Auto,
thing? No.
yeah, I was with Auto Trader, and yes, in the newspaper business as well. And I ran sales teams and divisions then, and it was tough, because you're trying to make the same money that you were used to in print, and you just couldn't do it. You had to look at other sources and come up with other ideas to generate revenue, and the inserts, those were still money makers, but they kind of ran the newspaper because they'd say jump and we'd have to say how high, because we needed the business.
So were the advertisers dictating what was going in the news sometimes?
No, they
Oh,
weren't. No,
okay.
it is absolutely not. Those two departments are so separate, so separate.
Well, you hear some of that where some of the newspapers can confirm your bias, depending on where you go. And here we're probably going to delve a little bit into the political where okay, you got the CNN and you got the Fox. And I'm guessing there's newspapers that are on one side or the other. Most of us are right down the middle, a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. Not the far right and the far left seem to be the ones that cause the most uh, disruption. Most of us
Right.
right here, down the middle, you know?
Most papers lean left.
Okay. And
Yeah,
has that
most
always been?
all are left.
Always since
Yeah.
the beginning of newspapers? How about that? And how about social media? I mean, as well as have they been all leaning left? That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, are there any that lean right? That like this new portal thing that you were talking about? Does that you said that was more conservative?
I think Parlor is.
Parlor.
I don't know that much about it. I really don't. But news and advertising are so separate that I'd get in the elevator with news people and not even know who they are. You know, you don't interact, you don't engage because you've got to keep that barrier between. But I will tell you something. I'm a Gamecock. I did some undergrad work and I got my MBA from the University of South Carolina. And I will tell you, Steve Spurrier, he pretty much ran that newspaper, the sports section when he was there. There was a 60-foot tall banner of him on the, and I mean, he kind of controlled things.
You see, and I've heard that to where people will go, "Oh, I can't say that. I'm going to lose my advertisers," and that biases you, and that you know that doesn't mean that means that you're not reporting the news in facts. You're reporting the news so you can get advertisers, clickbait, that kind of thing. It's just it's something that I haven't delved into. I mean, I talk to lots of different people, and I enjoy the conversations that I have. I'm enjoying this conversation, Donut Girl, Carol Copey, and Keys Dan's not my real name. Daniel Gilson's my name. Keys Dan is an alias that's come from the Florida Keys, you know. But you know, people would know that if they knew me or they looked at my Facebook. Oh, look, there's his real name right there on the side of it. So, but you know, I like hearing both sides, and I hate that there's both sides. It should just be one side, the facts. You know, tell me things as they are, and why does it have to be so sided? You know, so partisan?
I think that's gone out the window a long time ago. And I think that's another reason for newspapers' demise, to an extent. Um, you know, newspapers were started to keep an eye on the politicians and, you know, to keep them honest. But now everybody has an agenda and try to sway, you know, public opinion, and that's not the way it should be. It should be unbiased reporting and just stating the facts, but I don't see that happens.
No, I hear about the nepotism and the friendships that are made between politicians and reporters. And if anybody, if a politician has a problem at any time of the night, oh, let me call that reporter and have him print my agenda so I can push that forward. You know, and it's really hard. You know, I hear of the Cuomo's. You know, the Chris Cuomo and I'm sorry,
Mar-
Ma- uh,
Mario.
Mario Cuomo, and they talk to each other all the time on his show, and even the president talks to his buddy on Fox and all the time. And it's just, I think it biases the news if you develop these deep friendships with the newscasters. I mean, it's nice to have acquaintances, but you know, to develop these friendships that skew the news. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, I agree. I think there's some very incestuous tips between some of the largest media companies in the country and politics, and I see that as a problem. And I am always leery of considered news, and I always have been because you know the people deciding what news is may not be of the same opinion, you know, that I have as to what's newsworthy. You know, in the newspaper business, for instance, you get, you know, 10 editors sitting around a conference room table and they're hashing out, you know, what's going to be the daily news. Well, you know, that's their and so I've always been about that, but I'm also very leery of reporting and dishonesty in reporting and agendas with reporting. So, in order to shore that up, you've got to read and watch and listen to a lot of different sources, and it's exhausting.
It
It,
is.
it's truly exhausting to get the truth, and you really you've got to figure out who's trustworthy and who's got the best record of being accurate. And it's exhausting.
Who's got it, Carol Copey? Who have you found? Where do you get your news? I'm guessing when you first started doing the tweeting on your Carol Copey Twitter account, you were starting to tweet out things that you found relevant, and I guess other people didn't find them so relevant and decided to comment against them. But I mean, where do you find your news? What do you find that's most truthful?
Well, and it wasn't people being negative towards me. It was just the whole atmosphere of it all. And back then, I can't remember what the handle was that I started off with, but then I changed it to a mayor I can,
Okay,
American.
I
So,
like.
yeah, and I don't really want to go down the road of talking about my political leanings, because I don't get into that on Twitter at all. And I don't like when people do that on my timeline. I protect my timeline very closely. Um, I hide anything that's negative. If there's any smut or anything, I get rid of that or I block the person. There's so much of that on Twitter. I just don't want it on my feed. My feed's wholesome. I've got a couple pastors on there, that I wish good morning and they wish me just, and I think that's why people enjoy it because it's clean, it's positive, it's fun, and the pictures look mighty tasty.
Absolutely. Wake up every morning and it's time to make the donuts. I know anybody of a certain age knows where that came from. The famous. I mean, what was it? The time to make the donuts ad.
Dunkin' Donuts.
That's
And
right.
there's a guy in those commercials. He was a young guy then, and he follows me. His
What?
name's his name is Jerry Wisnut, I think. Wisnut. Yes.
He's the
He
time
was
to
the
make
young
the
guy
donuts
with the
guy.
curly hair.
Yes, he's the time to make the donuts guy. And then I remember
Not
he got so
the main
flustered.
guy.
Oh, okay, because he
Not
got
the
so flustered, he said, "Oh, I made the donuts." Oh, okay, I already did it, but not the main
yeah,
guy.
he not the main guy. He's another guy in the commercial. He was sort of a younger guy with
That's cool.
dark curly hair.
That's amazing how it comes around. It all comes
I,
around. If you want happiness, you cultivate happiness. You plant that seed of happiness, and you make your world happy. And I'd like to get into politics. I'd like to figure out what's going on in the world. Who should I vote for? I mean, what do I? And why is this the only two choices that I have? Why is it a two-party system still? Why is the presidency only one guy? It should be like a league of smart people of you know that run the
well, that's
country.
why you have cabinet members, Dan. That's why you have cabinet members.
Yeah, but you got to listen to the cabinet members. You can't say I have a big brain and I don't need to listen to anybody else. The ego has to be put aside sometimes. But hey,
We can talk about politics. I'll help you figure it out.
that's no fun. No, I definitely want to learn, and I like to learn, and I'm so glad that you came on the podcast and taught me a little bit about why you're the donut girl, Carol Copey, and how you came to be where you are right now. I mean, you've eaten a lot of dust, you've eaten a lot of dirt, you've been through the hardships of working for somebody, and I guess you've scrapped that all and became a real estate agent. Are you feeling better now that you're doing real estate rather than ads?
I've always been very entrepreneurial, and I have I cross off my bucket list items. I wanted to open a store at one point, and I dropped out of corporate and I opened a makeup store in a real posh area of my. And I did that, built it up, and sold it. Real estate's something I always wanted to do, and got talked out of it when my kids were little, and so I didn't pursue it. But in 2006, when I was in corporate, I got my license, even though I didn't do anything with it because it was a bucket list item. And actually, in my neighborhood, they were tearing down. It's a I actually sold that house, but it was a 1,500 home neighborhood built around 3 9-hole golf courses. The homes were built in the late 70s, early 80s, on big lots. So they were tearing down the old homes, putting up McMansions. And that started around 2005, 2006. And I thought, well, if I could do one or two of those a month, that would be some nice pocket change. And working in corporate, having kids at home, I never really did anything with it, but I did get my license, which was on my list. And then in 2015, I was finishing up my MBA, and my daughter actually asked me to go into business with her. She said she was going to get her license and wanted to start a real estate business. And so I did. And we shot out the gate really successful. We are in the top 10% of realtors in our city, and just really strong. And then the first year she got married, the second year she had the baby, and doesn't work anymore. And so it's just me.
Oh, she works harder than anybody. Mama, that's the hardest job in the whole wide world. I appreciate
Yes.
that. No, but how was that working with the kid? That's beautiful. You built up a business together with hey, the fruit of your loins became your business partner. That's fantastic. That's beautiful. Oh, that's got to be very rewarding.
And it was great because we look like bookends. We think exactly alike. It was funny because I'd get into the office a little bit earlier than she would, and I'd have a blind pulled down on the door on the long glass window, and I'd hear her stick the key in, and I'd look out and I'd see what she was wearing, and we'd be dressed alike on many days, many occasions. So it was a lot of fun. I think being mom manager and talking about work all the time wasn't the greatest experience for her. She would have rather kept things separate because I'm really really driven and just gung ho. She is too. But she really really, I mean, she's got a great life now and the sweetest little baby. She's kind of she's my daughter's my Minnie and Caroline. So we've got the three legs to the stool. So she's just perfectly happy doing what she's doing.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what we're talking about, you're very driven. You got your MBA, I guess, business administration. Is that what that is? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm not very
Within
schooled.
finance.
Oh,
Huh?
in finance. Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Well, that helps in any situation. Having your finances. The kids in school aren't learning about money anymore. They're learning.
No.
They're learning how to count money, but they're not learning how to make money. They don't learn how to get into business. And what does it take to get a real estate license? What did you have to do to get a real estate license?
It's really not that difficult. That's why there are so many people in the business. I mean, the test is extremely hard. I was
Oh,
studying for my MBA finals when I was working on my real estate exam. And I'll tell you, the real estate exam is tough. And the reason it's tough is because it's all multiple choice. There are four answers. You can eliminate two right out of the gate, but the last two are so similar. And you have to choose the one with the highest degree of correctness. And so it's super, super hard, but you can do it. I passed it the first go round both times. And but I mean, there are a lot of us in this business.
yeah. I'm
You
sure
know,
you have to have some kind of education to be a real estate agent. You're taking these people. Well, I mean, your house is probably the most expensive thing that you're ever going to buy, and that's a great investment, and it takes a certain kind of person not to mess that up for anyone. You have to care about people to an extent. I mean, yeah, you're there to make a couple bucks, but you have to care about the people that you're working with, and I know that that's gotta be a big part of it. But, I mean, what kind of questions are on that test? I mean, is it Eh, what knowledge do you need to be a real estate agent?
Well, there are legal questions, there are financial questions, there are contractual questions. You know, lots of different categories in the business. But and you're right, it is most people's largest investment, the largest asset that they'll own. And I do everything from first time home buyers up into, luxury. I actually chair the luxury committee in my office. I'm on the Agent Leadership Council, and you have to be selected to be a member of that and have a certain level of production and interview. And so, I do it all. And I feel like my corporate background has aided my success just from a level of professionalism and responsiveness and, um, you know, all of the above.
No, I believe that to be true. All the schooling that you've had in the past has been preparing you for what you're doing right now. All that knowledge is getting it got accumulated, and you were able to use it to build the business with your daughter. Is it the same business that you're running on your own now that she's left it? It's the same corporation?
For the most part, yeah, for the most part.
And do you have people that work for you or work with you? Is it a certain type, like it's like, what, a lot of them work for a bigger company, but they're like agents within that company. Is that how real estate works?
Yeah, I'm an independent agent right now under our brokerage.
That's so
I do
cool.
admin
What?
who work for me.
Oh, that is so cool. I'm so impressed with you, Donut Girl, Carol Copey, the elusive. I still, we've talked a lot, but I still don't know a lot about you. Your personal stuff. But it's good that you've taught me some things on the broad strokes of how you got to where you are, because you seem very successful, and success to me is on many different levels. If you got a smile on your face and you're generally happy, and you got three great kids that are doing great things, hey, you're successful in my book, and that's a wonderful thing. So, I mean, do you consider yourself successful?
I do, and I agree with you. I think you're happy. That's the main thing. Just having a positive attitude and being happy and loving life. That I mean, what more can you ask for?
All right. Well, I mean, let's wind this thing down. I know we've been on for a little while. I've chatted you up a bit. I mean, if you wanted to come back on, if something changes in the future, but how would you like the people to connect with you? And I mean, do you want to sell them some houses, or do you want to keep that completely separate?
No, I'd love to sell anybody a house. Also, from a referral standpoint, if anybody anywhere in the country or 32 countries, I'm with Keller Williams, and we are in 32 countries. And so, wherever you are in the world, if you want to relocate, DM me on Twitter, Donut Girl, or at Carol Copey, and I will find you the couple of excellent agents that you can interview and then select which one you want to work with. So I'm happy to help you.
Super
And
fantastic. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, just DM me.
Absolutely. Slide into her DMs only for house buying. Nothing else.
That's right.
None of that crazy stuff, kids.
If
But
you're smutty, you won't get any.
you smutty, you get blocky. No, and
That's right.
no, and anybody watching the video version of this, your name is underneath your video there, Donut Girl at Carol Copey, proper spelling. So that's the way to find you. And all right, usually I finish these things off with last words for the people. Carol Copey, Donut Girl. It could be something that, words to live by, something maybe your family has taught you in the past, or whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Carol Copey, Donut Girl, last words for the people.
Well, that's a lot of pressure. And I will just say that let's get to know each other. Follow me on Twitter at Carol Copey, and I will welcome you every morning and greet you with a fresh batch of donuts.
Well, there you have it, party people. The Donut Girl, Carol Copey. Yeah. Oh, I knew it was going to be fun. She's a very smiley person, and her Twitter has been cultivated for happiness. There's donuts galore. And those are the kind of donuts that are not going to increase your calorie count or put some weight on your belly. It's just something nice to look at to make you feel good. You look at those donuts and you go, oh, I got to smile at that. But then I want some donuts. And maybe that's a bad thing. But there's so much more to the Donut Girl, Carol Copey. And I'm so happy that she let us in to a little bit about what's going on. So, hey, if you want to buy a house, hey, you could do a whole lot worse than sliding into Carol Copey's DMs and finding out more about this house buying, not just in the Southeast, but also all over the world. She's got a company of people, a whole network of people that'll help you out. That's fantastic. It's people helping people, just like this podcast. People helping people. I love it. I love conversations with the people. Thank you so much, Donut Girl, Carol Copey, for being on the What Makes You Famous podcast. And turning to you, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.